Welcome to a candidate forum organized by Pullman League of Women Voters and the Pullman Chamber of Commerce for County Commissioner District 2 between Dean Kinzer and Tom Handy. Art Swanek, the County Commissioner for District 1, is running unopposed. My name is Karen Hardy, and I am a member of the Pullman League of Women Voters. I'm delighted to welcome both candidates tonight, and we thank you for your desire and willingness to serve our community. This forum is being recorded and is available on the League's website. The League is a nonpartisan organization open to both men and women over the age of 16 and provides nonpartisan election information on candidates and issues. The Pullman League never endorses, supports, or opposes any candidate or political party. The League of Women Voters of Pullman adopts position statements based on study and member agreement. Once the League adopts a position, it can then be used to shape public policy. We encourage you to visit the LWV website, where you can examine the complete list of League of Women Voters of Pullman's positions. In addition to this evening's forum, the League, along with the Chamber of Commerce, will sponsor a District 9 Candidates Forum on Saturday, October 17th from 4 to 5 p.m. Mary Dye is the incumbent and Brett Borden is the challenger. Please check the Pullman League of Women website for the link to this forum held via Zoom. Questions were submitted before this forum. We cannot take live questions from the audience. This forum is organized as follows. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement. I will ask the question of the candidate, and each gentleman will have 1 minute to respond. Mr. Handy will answer odd-numbered questions first, and Mr. Kinzer will answer even-numbered questions first. At the end of the question period, each candidate has 2 minutes to make a closing statement. Tom Handy has been a resident of Whitman County since 1984. He and his wife of 36 years, Debbie, have 3 adult sons, 2 of whom live in Pullman and run the family business, Paradise Creek Brewery. Paradise Creek Brewery makes beer from locally sourced ingredients and distributes it all over the state of Washington and northern Idaho. The family also has a restaurant in the historic old post office. Dean Kinzer moved to the Pullman area in 1974 to lease a farm, which he is still leasing. He has been married to his wife Barbara for 42 years and has 2 adult children. He has had the honor and experience of having served the citizens of Whitman County in different capacities since the late 1970s. Dean served 9 years on the Pullman Grange Supply that has changed its name to 4-Star Supply. He served 9 years on the Calvary Christian Center Board of Deacons. He served 16 years on the Pullman School Board. Dean is currently the Whitman County Commissioner from District 2, completing his 2nd term in office. Each candidate will now have 2 minutes for their opening statement. Mr. Handy will make his opening statement first. Mr. Handy.
Hi, my name's Tom Handy. During the 36 years that I've lived in Whitman County, I've had 2 primary jobs. For the first 16 years, I worked at WSU, ending up as Chief Broadcast Engineer and Telecommunications Project Manager. So I understand technology. Then, to explore something different, I purchased the old post office building in early 2001 and opened Pullman's first wine bar. Later, as the economy got tough, I transformed the business into Paradise Creek Brewery. That was in 2010. I've spent a lot of time out in the communities as a volunteer too. There was never a time since becoming an entrepreneur that I haven't been involved in community activities, participating on boards, many with leadership roles and often several at the same time. I always want to give back to my community. During that time, I've gotten to know many of the business and governmental leaders in the region, and now is the time for me to step it up, to serve a broader audience as County Commissioner. My sons will run the family business, and those of you who know me know I will go all in if elected, and I already have. I won't be the one who just sits back and takes notes and doesn't participate. I will be active, and I will be out there getting to know you and your concerns. I believe that I need to represent all of Whitman County, all of the time, the cities, the towns, and the rural and unincorporated areas. You've seen my signs all around because I want you to know I have been there and that I care that you are there. I don't feel comfortable knocking on random doors during the pandemic to get to know you, so that's been a little bit of a challenge, but you can see I've been around. I don't think I could possibly do my job if I don't get to know you and you me. This alone should be a welcome change.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. Mr. Kinzer. Oops, sorry. Mr. Handy, I hope I didn't cut you off. Do you need me to reinstate some time for you?
I don't think so.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mr. Kinzer, you now have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
All right, thank you. I'm Dean Kinzer. First of all, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this, and I also like to thank the Spencer family, Paul and Susan, for hosting me because my connection out at the farm sometimes becomes unstable. But the reason I'm running for another term as county commissioner is because I want our county to prosper and be able to serve the citizens in a manner that they expect and deserve. Our team of elected officials have been able to rescue Whitman County from some irresponsible decisions, mainly the Hawkins project that had the potential to devastate Whitman County's ability to provide the services that we all expect in our county. We have been able to move Whitman County into a fiscally responsible position to weather some challenges. We have improved services, we have improved infrastructure, and we have improved the facilities. We have more improvements to make, and I want to continue to be a member on that team that is making the progress at improving every aspect of the county government. I'm focused, I'm energized, and I'm ready to continue and bring things together and serve the people of Whitman County.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzer. Mr. Kinzer, you have a little bit of time left. Do you have anything left that you?
Yeah, when I'm finished, I'm finished.
Okay.
Okay. Less is
sorry,
more.
just to be clear, you don't have to. I'll try and stop the timers more promptly, so you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Question number 1, Mr. Handy, this will go to you first, and then Mr. Kinzer, you will have a minute to respond afterwards. Mr. Handy, what one part of county government would receive more attention if you were elected?
Well, I think that all parts of county government are pretty important. You know, we have to look at the needs through, these days, things can change pretty much on a moment's notice. But some of the most immediate and important needs will mean, oh my goodness, we'll need to make sure that we can cope with the budget shortfalls. The public works budget will be one of the hardest hit due to the lack of gas tax revenue. We'll have to do a lot of brainstorming to plug as many of those holes as possible, and I'm glad we have such strong leadership in public works. We also need to do some brainstorming for future growth. So in the next time that something like this might come along, we've got more reserves and more avenues to save us. This year it was COVID, but who knows what's coming up next time. I've never been a fan of only having one fail-safe option.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. Mr. Kinzer, you now have a minute to answer the same question. Would you like me to read it again?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Sorry. What one part of county government would receive more attention if you were elected?
Okay, the COVID crisis, along with the social distancing requirements, has emphasized the need for the county to upgrade and expand our internet technology infrastructure. We had the project on our capital improvements list, but it was not at the top of the list. With the requirements for video conferencing, we need to replace most of the infrastructure to accommodate the technologies. We know that our cabling is over 20 years old. We've been told it's end of life, so that is one of the reasons. We have 2 courtrooms that require recording equipment, and the commissioner's chambers and the public service building auditorium also require recording equipment for meetings, and they also substitute as courtrooms. The chambers and auditoriums don't necessarily have to have all that recording equipment for everything, but we like it when it's needed. It's also been usual to have, it's not been unusual to have 3 court sessions going on at once, and that's the reason we need to accommodate the new technologies with an updated system.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzer. Question number 2. This question was submitted by several people. Mr. Kinzer, what is your opinion about the formation and support for developing the Pullman Colfax Railroad right-of-way as a walking and bicycle trail?
Could you repeat that one more time?
Absolutely. What is your opinion about the formation and support for developing the Pullman Colfax Railroad right-of-way as a walking and bicycle trail?
Okay, well, what is my opinion is that as a county commissioner, the county is going to have a difficult time contributing in any way to that, simply because we have limited resources in the form of revenue. And if the county were to contribute anything toward that corridor and pathways, we'd have to take something away from the rest of the county government. And how do you decide? You take it away from one department or another, and each one of these departments has been running on skeleton crews, and up until the last 3 years when we had a little extra revenue in order to support those different departments. And right now, I don't see where the county could necessarily help out as far as establishing a pathway through there. I probably wouldn't be one of the people that use it, but I'm certain that other people would.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzer. Helen, I have a little bit of feedback. Is that me?
I'm hearing that. I'm not sure. There's no one else with a mic on other than our participants. I guess, okay, to head this off, I'm just going to ask that if possible, you mute yourself when not speaking. I'm not sure why this is happening, but usually it's some kind of microphone reverb thing. So,
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
in light of that, if possible, please do that.
Okay, I'm sorry for the lack of flow in this questioning. Mr. Handy, would you like me to repeat that question for you?
No, I'm pretty well versed in the CAP trail. I personally support it very much. I live along the Whitman or the Chipman Trail, and I've been here since before that trail started, and so I've seen the whole process work through. With a good set of volunteers and others that put this together, and I think that it's very viable, and it's a great thing for not only the county but people that come to visit too. I don't, particularly see the county's budget as just being a finite thing. I think there's ways to grow this budget to accommodate more things, but we need to do a bunch of thinking about planned growth in order to grow our county budget, and that'll allow us to be able to start doing some of the things that we want to do, especially recover from disasters like we're in right now.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. Question number 3. Pardon me.
Our timer just rearranged.
The timer rearranged. So I think both gentlemen, yeah, thank you. Question number 3, Mr. Handy. Are the county financial planning, reporting, monitoring, and control systems adequate? And are there provisions for implementing needed improvements for county policies and departments?
Well, gosh, I mean, that's kind of like a question for an auditor. which I'm not, you know. I don't know all of the policies and procedures that every single department has. And I'm quite honest about that. But one of the things that I think would be really important, you know, especially as we're looking at ways to save money, is to figure out a way to map out all of these processes and, you know, and interdepartmental transactions, just to make sure that they're flowing in an efficient manner. Now, whether they will, you know, stand up to an audit or those types of things, I'm certainly not qualified to answer that.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. Mr. Kinzer? I see that you are muted. Would you like me to repeat that question?
No, I apologize for being muted.
Oh, not a bit. No, not a bit. It's a long question though, and I'm happy to repeat it if you wish.
Not necessary, thank you. I believe the county is at a point where we are being very responsible. Yes, we had some difficulties when I was first on the board of county commissioners because our former county auditor was having difficulties understanding what was needed. And currently, you know, last 2 years, we have passed the state audits very well. We've got the internal controls in place. We've got the checks and balances, and their system is working very well. Of course, our new county auditor is Sandy Jameson, and she is a certified public accountant. Of course, sometimes I feel that the state auditor's office, they change what they're keying on, and once in a while they come through with a gotcha, but we are very proactive at changing, you know, the protocols or the system, whatever the state auditors want, because we want to be accountable to the citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzer. We're on our fourth question. And Mr. Kinzer, this is for you. You will go first, please. Are county taxes too high, about right, or low? Mr. Kinzer?
Sorry.
Mr. Kinzer, you're on mute. There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
In answering that question, we've got to understand that there are limits to what any county or city can charge because currently our county is limited to $1.80, and we are currently getting $1.49. We're limited to increasing the property taxes 1% per year. And as property values increase, that ratchets down continuously until you end up having to run what they call a levy lid lift. I think it's reasonable because if you raise it to the maximum all the time, then the junior taxing districts, they get cut back to very little. And so if you can keep it kind of in the middle of what you're allowed to charge for property taxes, the senior taxing districts, then it gives the junior taxing districts room to work a little bit. And so that's why I think we're just okay where we're at.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzer. Mr. Handy. Sir, you are on mute.
All right, I'll get the hang of this.
We
Okay.
all will. At some point, we all will.
Yeah, I think it depends on your perspective and knowledge of what county taxes are and what they do. They aren't high enough to pay for everything that they're supposed to do, but they're too high for those who are trying to make ends meet. So the county collects several different types of taxes with all different purposes. There'll never be a true consensus on this, but most people don't want to pay any more than they have to, and no one can pay more than they're able to. So the simple reality is that if we don't grow and increase our tax base through planned development, everyone will either pay more or get less. And we need to spread the load among more people and more businesses. We have to strike a balance, among growth, or we'll fight budget shortfalls forever. We currently have crossed under the break-even point, so we really have to change something, and growth is a reasonable solution.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. We're on question 5. This is Mr. Handy will go first on this question. Mr. Handy, are you aware that 59% of Whitman County voters believe global warming is already harming people in the United States, and 68% support a carbon tax? This is according to the Yale Climate Opinion Maps of 2020. What actions will you as a Whitman County Commissioner take to mitigate the risk of climate change?
Well, you know, we're kind of a small county, and, you know, so everybody needs to do their part. I mean, small county in the way of population. So everybody needs to kind of do their part. The county itself, you know, has control over what vehicles they might purchase next, or how they're re-outfitting some of the buildings with more energy efficient, you know, appliances or air conditioning units or whatever, you know. But I think on a much larger scale, what we can do that would be of the most benefit is just to make sure that our renewable energy source generation facilities stay in operation. You know, I mean, our hydro dams are there. They're producing good, cheap power. We've got wind, you know. Let's make sure that we enable technologies that keep that kind of thing going.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. Mr. Handy. Mr. Kinzer, would you like me to repeat the question, sir?
No, I think I have that. I am in favor of addressing climate change with technology, simply because if we develop a technology that reduces carbon footprints and reduces the other aspects of the climate that are causing, might be causing climate change, and make it less expensive than with our current technology, then it's going to be a quick, easy adoption of those new technologies. And if you don't, and you start imposing carbon taxes and requirements for reducing exhaust emissions and so forth, you're going to somebody's going to have to police that. And if it's the county that's policing it, then you put us into an adversarial position with the people out there, and we don't want to be there. So I just want it solved by technology and make it less expensive and more efficient.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzer. Question 6, Mr. Kinzer. Most of Whitman County does not have easy access to food, medical, and other resources. Is there anything the county can do to ease this problem? Have you thought about public transportation?
You know, there's possibility that you could run a different tax to support some public transportation. That is an option, but we do have coast transportation that gets funding from our state government and federal government to transport people wherever they need to go. I currently have not seen the situation where people can't get transportation because Coast says they can help with just about anybody. The medical needs, you know, the county has been looking at possibly having WSU bring down their medical van or bus that they go around to different communities with. That's one of the options we've been looking at. Certainly I encourage faith-based organizations to help out the people in their communities with all these needs. And I hope with the balance of all that we can help all the people that have those needs.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzer. Mr. Handy.
Yeah, would you repeat that, please?
Absolutely. Most of Whitman County does not have easy access to food, medical, and other resources. Is there anything the county can do to ease this problem? Have you thought about public transportation?
Well, to be honest, I haven't. So, you know, I haven't really heard that is a serious concern. As far as most of the people having that problem. I know that some people certainly do. And I think that organizations like Community Action Center and those like it are doing an awful lot to help the needs of those people, you know, and that includes, you know, affordable housing too. I think it's really important to support those organizations that are already equipped and doing those types of things and offering them more assistance whenever we can, so that we can get out to those other outlying communities in those areas where I mean, it's distance. A lot of it is just distance, and the distance part we cannot change. So we just got to be there more often. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. Question number 7, Mr. Handy. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting economic slowdown, the revenues of the county for this year and next year will probably be less than normal. What do you suggest for ways of compensating for and mitigating this decrease in revenue?
Well, first off, I don't think there's any probably about it. You know, I mean, I'm in business. I see it now, and I've watched the county budgeting process go forward, you know, for next year, and there's no doubt about it. You know, I mean, that's not it's a fact, and it's something that we have to deal with. Now, there are revenues or reserves, you know, that are going to help, and thank goodness that they're there. I personally think that we need to look at other avenues, though, as we go forward. We don't have immediate fixes for any of this. Nobody expected it, but we need to make sure that we can cope with things like this a little bit more diversely, you know, going forward. I'm sorry, I kind of forgot half of your question, but I think that, you know, the CARES Act and all of that is helping a whole lot, and thank goodness for that.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. Mr. Kinzer, would you like me to repeat the question? And sir, you are on mute. There we go.
Yes, please.
Because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting economic slowdown, the revenues of the county for this year and next year will probably be less than normal. What do you suggest for ways of compensating for and mitigating this decrease in revenue?
Well, to start with, most of the people out there that pay their taxes, they are expecting the county to live within our means just as they have to. And so we're going to be looking at all the avenues to save costs and expenses for the county. Of course, we do have, as Mr. Handy mentioned, some reserves. We are expecting to probably have to use a quarter to a third of those reserves in order to balance the budget this year. And of course, we're going to be checking with federal and state agencies consistently and often to see if there's going to be any further grants or giveaways of the federal government to support us and keep us going also. So it's going to be a combination of several fronts for which we're going to try to address the problem. And I think we'll be able to bridge this, but yes, it's going to be probably 2 or 3 years before we pull out of this completely.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzer. Question number 9 for Mr. Handy. Mr. Kinzer, would you mind putting your thing on mute, please? Thank you. Mr. Handy, what are your proposals to settle the question of marijuana production within the county?
Well, my proposal is to finish the ordinance. And that's just about it. We need to come to a consensus on it. We need to listen to the people. We need to understand their concerns. And we need to go through the public hearings and the process that's underway. I've read the draft ordinance and I understand it. And I understand where some people think that there's room for improvement, and there's probably room for some change and some compromise on a number of the provisions in it. But I think that, we need to just pay serious attention to public opinion on this, because it's kind of a hot button issue in our county, and we need to proceed cautiously and carefully and make sure that we can satisfy as many people's desires and needs as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. Mr. Kinzer?
Yes, to start with, we have a very diverse 9-member planning commission that has been studying this and taking community input I think it's going on over a year now. And they have been consistently updating the proposed code and coming forward with what they know and hear, and also putting into it what is required by the law. So I am basically waiting to see what their final product is, because I'm not going to go out on a limb and tell them what that needs to be done or doesn't. They are going to hold more hearings before they bring it forward to the Board of County Commissioners. Once it is in the hands of the county commissioners, we will hold some hearings for the public to come in and weigh in on. And if I hear some very compelling evidence or information that, that'd encourage me to change my mind on something, that'd be different. But otherwise, I'm going to probably stick to whatever the Planning Commission brings forward to us.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzer. This is the last question that was submitted for the evening. And Mr. Kinzer, if new resources were available, what one area of county services would you feel most needs additional resources?
Well, looking at this next year, knowing where we're going to probably be with COVID, which we're going to be dealing with it for an additional year. And the wildfires we're dealing with in Malden and Pine City, the emergency management department is going to need a lot more supplies. Our CARES funding runs out at the end of November. So if we were to have the revenue and the resources we needed, I guess I would be supplying the personal protective equipment, test kits, for our care centers, our hospitals, clinics, and dental practices as well as we can. And of course, the wildfires are going to require a tremendous amount of time and contracting, communicating, and coordinating resources to keep up on the administrative work. Our emergency manager is just overworked completely right now. He's in desperate need of an additional administrative assistant to take care of some of the administrative work. And so I directed that direction.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzer. Mr. Handy, would you like me to reread that question? Sir, you are there.
Got it. I think I have it.
Okay.
For me, hands down, it'd be Whitcomb. For some reason, it seems like Whitcomb's been left to suffer for years due to the lack of external support, lack of funding, which is causing a lot of undue stress and problems with staffing. I realize it's a problem with these types of entities statewide, but I just can't understand why we can't find ways to support our 911 system to the same degree that we do for our schools and hospitals. After all, they're the first responders. We have great people at Whitcomb we are leaving on a path to burnout. We just expect somebody to be there when we call. The hours are long and the job is very stressful. Why do we put that kind of pressure on them? I'm kind of passionate about this. Which one of you wants to be on the call, if the system breaks down? It's kind of frightening to me. I think they need our undivided support.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. Mr. Kinzer and Mr. Handy, we've come to the conclusion of our time for questions, and I now invite you to make a 2-minute closing statement. Mr. Handy, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, I don't know how much I have to say in closing, except for the fact that I am very much engaged in the county here. I've been around for a while. I've seen a lot of things happen. You know, I've seen some things that credit gets taken for when credit isn't necessarily due, but I also see that there's a lot of other opportunities for things to happen here, you know, that aren't. And I'm not trying to discredit anybody, you know, who's out there doing the job already. I just believe that I've got different experiences in life and different thoughts of how to do some things that I want to express and be able to bring forward. So I know I haven't been there for 8 years, but I've been here for 36. So I do have a bit of experience. I've got a great, you know, I've got decades long working relationship with the city of Pullman. You know, we trust each other. We know each other. We've all got each other's cell phones, you know, up and down the chain. And that includes WSU too, you know, so I think that I'm a good choice for the job. I want to get out there. I want people to know me. You know, I don't want to just take it as it comes and go with the flow. I want to be out there and try and make some positive changes. I want to see Whitman County grow. I want to see the tax base expand. I want to make sure that no more of our small towns dry up and die. You know, we've got so much to offer here. We've got so much opportunity. And these are amazingly stressful times for everybody, but we've just got to ramp up our game here and do some things a little differently and just get going. So that's me. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Handy. Mr. Kinzer, would you like to make a closing statement? You have 2 minutes.
Okay, well, thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to make it clear to start with that Whitcomb is in very good hands and very good shape right now. I was appointed or elected to the chairman of the board in May, and we have replaced the executive director, interim director, and the new director. Both worked on a plan to fund Whitcomb, and it's in place right now, and it's working well. Yes, we need to fill all the dispatcher positions, but Whitcomb's in good shape and they're doing a good job for us. I am not too concerned about them serving us well. On my reasons why I want to continue as county commissioner, we have improved the fiscal position of the county. We've improved the services in the county. We've improved our infrastructure, and we've improved our facilities greatly. I'm energized. I like the job. I enjoy getting up every morning and getting to work and working on all the issues that are facing us each day. I want to continue to be a member of that team that is making the progress and improvements in every aspect of government. I have people coming into my office every day constantly. Sometimes it's elected officials. They want to let us know what they're doing and how to plan for the budget the next year. I have citizens coming in. I enjoy talking to them constantly too, and solving some of their issues and helping them with problems. We're there for them. I listen. That was one of the first promises I had when I became a county commissioner. I will listen to you, and I'm very good at that, and I'm very good at solving problems. Been on the ground. We've got our Commissioner Largent is going to be the president of the State Association of County Commissioners, and he needs some good backup. I'm here, I'm ready and energized and waiting to help out in any way I can with those issues. And so that's why I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kinzer. I would like to thank Mr. Handy and Mr. Kinzer and all the participants for joining the League of Women Voters and the Pullman Chamber of Commerce County Commissioner District 2 Candidates Forum. If there is a topic we did not discuss, I encourage you to contact the candidates directly. Ballots are being mailed early this election. If you have not received your ballot, check with the county election office, phone number 509-397-5284. If you are not registered to vote or have moved, there is still time to register. The deadline is October 26th. You can register online at www.votewa.gov. For democracy to work, please vote. It matters. Good night.